The Halloween Gambit, if you don't know, is a gambit that comes out of the Four Knights game, where white sacrifices a knight on e5, which just doesn't look like it works. But then, white plays d4, and tries to develop a strong center in the middle of the board, supported by the knight on c3. Black here plays back to c6. It's a little bit better to play back to g6, but knight to c6 is a totally playable move. White plays d5, knight comes back to e5, and f4. And you can already see this absolutely beautiful pawn center forming, supported by this knight, like I said. And the knight is pushed back to g8. And this is gorgeous. This game today was played by two random Lichess players that I found. But it's just a great game. Absolutely brilliant demonstration of the Halloween Gambit. And I just thought I would share it with all of you today. So let's just see some random 2000s play some good Halloween Gambit game. White plays d6, and the computer doesn't really like this move, but the point of it is that after takes, this pawn is always going to be annoying for black. It's pushing into these squares here, and this bishop and this knight are always going to have trouble developing because of this square being taken up. Black plays queen to f6, and here the game starts to get a little bit wild. White plays knight to b5, protecting the pawn on d6, and also threatening this fork on c7, which would win the rook. Black sees this and plays king to d8. Here, white plays this move, bishop to e3, which is just, like, it's kind of hard to explain what this move does, but it essentially develops this bishop to the best diagonal that it can be on, and just allows this pawn to be captured. So black takes the pawn. And here, white plays this super quiet move, queen to d2, which is, I mean, again, it's gorgeous. It both hits the knight here and threatens queen to a5, which, if black were to just do nothing, let's say like knight h5, saving the knight, you could sack the bishop, and you're winning the rook and more here. Like, this is just over. So instead, black plays this move knight e6, which is nice if white were to do the same thing, where they move the queen to a5. Once this knight comes to c7, then this knight can just take it now, and black would be winning there. So, white plays castles queenside. Okay. Protecting the king, getting this rook into the game. Very nice move. Now black plays b6, disallowing the queen from coming to a5, also developing, or preparing to develop, this bishop. White develops their bishop, black develops their bishop, rook to f1. This hits the queen, so the queen moves, and white plays bishop takes e6. The thing about this move is that black has three ways to take back this bishop, and none of them are good. If black takes back with the f-pawn, then rook takes f1, and there's checkmate in 5 here. Like, they're probably not finding this, but this is winning. This is super winning, even if that checkmate isn't played. And if instead black takes with the queen here, then there's this forking the rook and the queen, or even better is bishop check 6 and something like this attacking. This is winning. So in the game, black took back with the d7 pawn. So let white demonstrate for you why this is good. Plays the queen to b4 first. Not the best move, but it's getting the queen into the attack. Trying to attack this king here that can't castle. Black plays queen to e4, trying to trade queens because this bishop is hanging. The bishop just moves to d4, stopping all the threats. Queen plays back to c6. This is kind of a nothing move. Doesn't really do anything, but not terrible. White takes the free pawn on f7 with the rook, and this attacks the bishop on f8. So black plays knight to f6. Now the bishop is protected by the rook. And white's other idea of rook takes f7 was rook to c7, hitting the queen. But now, white missed that black has knight to d5, forking the rook and the queen. And here, the game would be almost back to equal, but black missed it. So instead, they just took the pawn on g2. And now, white plays an absolutely brilliant move. Knight takes a7. The point of this is that it takes away the defender of the b6 pawn. So if rook takes, queen takes b6, and these discovered attacks are just unstoppable, it's going to be checkmate in a few moves. So instead, black plays knight to d4, knight to d5 now, forking the rook and the queen. And here, white missed another brilliant move, which would be queen to... Here, white missed another brilliant move, which would be bishop takes b6. You can't take the queen because rook to e7 is mate. And this mating construction is just beautiful, right? The rook takes up this square, the knight takes up this square, the bishop check. It's just so good. And sacking a queen for it too. White missed that and played queen to b5, which is okay. Black takes the rook with the knight, white takes back, and the king takes the pawn. And here, there's just a checkmate in 3. Check, and white misses the checkmate in 3, but gets it eventually, and it's checkmate. And that is the spookiness of the Halloween Gambit. Happy Halloween.